You know, these are new discoveries. How do you put, you know, Henry Ford had no idea what was going to happen to his automobile. If you'd have told Henry Ford that it won't be long, Henry, it'll be within 100 years, and people are going to have heated and cooled seats. They'll have a heated steering wheel. Their mirrors will be heated. Back then, a heater was an option. You can see they'll have 6-way power seats. We'll have GPS that tells us where we're going, if we're on track, or where the next restaurant is. There's a little blue button we'll be able to push to get directions to wherever we want to go. If you'd have told him those things back then, he'd have laughed at you. You know, that I remember Thomas Edison thought that people would use, or excuse me, and Alexander Graham Bell thought people would use the telephone to call someone and tell them, you have a telegraph at the telegraph office. That's what he thought it would be used for. So you can see how far things actually advance once you have this technology, and once you turn the entrepreneur loose and the scientist, and they all become involved in something that a country is moving forward on. You get all types of opportunities and advances, and that's how we are today. I mean, look at this little BlackBerry, Hewlett and Packard, sitting in their garage how many years ago with a computer the size of this room that they can now put in their wristwatch. I mean, who knew those things were going to happen? To try and sit here and say this is the end is ignorant. To try to sit here and say this is as far as it'll go, or this is the best we'll get out of it, is just ignorance. We need to know that what happens after this, what happens when we put these things in place, what happens when we set the R&D in motion. And R&D is the name of the game today, and that's where we need to be, and that's where the government helps. It allows us to start things. The economy today is tough. You know, normally we do all this stuff on our own. It's hard to do today. There's just, banks aren't lending money, but it doesn't mean the country has to stop. The country can continue to go forward, but it takes these ideas, it takes the funding of these ideas, and the return you get is so much greater than what you put in. It's unbelievable. And I keep going back to that space program. I can't help it.
That's fine.
How do you take away, and you know, we've gotten so used to a space launch. I know they had one last week, and probably a lot of people don't even know they did it. But look what you've gotten from that. Look what came out of that. Look what came from that program. Look how many schools were started, how many kids got involved in science, what things they invented that never would have been invented. We're at that same place again. It's just not as sexy as space travel. This is energy. But it's the size of that market is so much larger and so big. I mean, this country is going to put 300 gigawatts of power in the next 10, 15 years. China's going to put another 300 gigawatts of power in the next 15 years. Europe's going to put another 300 gigawatts of power in the next 15 years. Where's it going to come from?